Tonight, something in your kitchen will do a thing no other animal on Earth can do. You will put food over heat and wait. It feels too ordinary to even notice. But stop for a second. No chimpanzee roasts its dinner. No lion sears a steak. In 4 billion years of life on this planet, exactly one creature ever learned to cook. You. And the very first time one of your ancestors did it, crouched beside a fire that every instinct told them to run from, they didn't just change dinner. They changed what a human being is. So here's a question you have never once asked about the most normal thing you do every day. What was the very first thing we ever cooked? And what did it do to us? The answer starts with your brain. Right now, the organ reading these words is burning about a fifth of all the energy your body makes, even though it weighs almost nothing. Pound for pound. It is the most expensive thing you own, and raw food cannot pay for it. In 2016, the neuroscientist Susanna Herculano-houzel dissolved dozens of brains into a kind of soup and counted the cells, and found something staggering. A human brain holds around 86 billion neurons, far more than an animal our size has any right to run. Then she did the math on feeding them. To power a brain like yours on raw food alone, she calculated, you would have to eat for more than 9 hours a day, every single day, like a machine. There simply are not enough hours. On raw food, a brain like yours is impossible. Sit with that for a moment. The thing that makes you you, that lets you fall in love, build a cathedral, miss someone who is gone, should not be able to exist. It is too hungry. For almost the entire history of life, no animal could afford a brain this greedy because feeding it would leave no time to do anything but chew. And yet here you are thinking, somewhere, somehow our ancestors broke the rule. They found a way to cheat the math, to pull the calories of 9 hours of eating out of a fraction of the time. And the cheat code was fire. The Harvard primatologist Richard Wrangham gave this idea its name, the cooking hypothesis. Cooking, he argues, is a kind of pre-digestion that happens outside your body. Heat unravels the tough fibers in a root and the tight-wound proteins in meat, so your gut barely has to work, and you pull far more energy out of the very same food. Cooked, it can give you roughly 3 times the calories, and that left a mark on our bodies you can still see in the bones. In 1995, the anthropologists Leslie Aiello and Peter Wheeler noticed that as the human brain ballooned, our gut quietly shrank. Both organs are enormously expensive to run, and you could not afford both at full size. So we made a trade, a smaller, lazier gut, paid for by cooking, in exchange for a bigger, hungrier brain. Cooking did not just feed the brain, it bought the brain. So picture the moment it began. Not a kitchen, but a riverbank, 100,000 fires ago. One of your ancestors, small and clever and frightened, crouching near the one thing every animal is built to flee. Fire was death. It ate the grass and the trees and sometimes the herd. And one day, instead of running, someone leaned toward it. Maybe they pulled a scorched root out of a burned patch of ground and tasted it, softer and sweeter than it had any right to be. Maybe a piece of meat fell near the coals and they smelled the thing we all still smell today and cannot resist. We will never know that exact face, but we know it happened, and we know roughly when. In a cave called Wonderwerk in South Africa, a scientist named Francesco Berna found the proof. Deep in sediment about 1 million years old, he and his team uncovered the ash of burned grass and tiny shards of charred bone, burned right there inside the cave, not blown in by some passing wildfire, a controlled fire, a hearth. And this was not even our species. It was Homo erectus, an ancestor with a brain 2/3 the size of yours, already sitting around a fire 1 million years ago. The taming of fire is that old, but a fire is not the same as a meal. Knowing they had flames does not tell us what was actually for dinner. For the oldest meal we can still prove, we have to go to a lake. The lake is gone now, but 780,000 years ago it was wide and full of fish, and people lived on its shore. They sat where the water met the land, and they ate. And in the mud where they sat, something survived for almost 1 million years. The leftovers of one specific dinner. Not a legend, not a guess. The actual remains of a meal that someone made on a particular day beside a particular fire before our species had even been born. The oldest dinner on Earth. And we know exactly what was on the menu. The place is called Gesher Beno Yaakov in northern Israel. In 2022, after 16 years of patient work, the archaeologists Irit Zohar and Nama Goran Inbar published what they had found there. Buried around the ancient hearths were the remains of more than 40,000 fish, and almost every one of them was missing its bones, leaving mostly the hard little throat teeth behind. That pattern is the fingerprint of cooking. Raw fish bones survive in the ground, but gently cooked ones soften and crumble away. By studying the teeth, the team could even tell the fish had been heated at low temperatures, not burned to a crisp, but cooked on purpose. 2 kinds of big, fatty carp pulled from that lake and cooked over a fire 780,000 years ago. That is the oldest meal humanity can prove it ever made. The first thing we know we cooked was fish. 2 fish by a lake. It sounds so small, but that fire did something no fire had ever done before. It gathered them. You cannot eat a cooked meal the instant you catch it. It has to be carried back and tended and shared and waited for. So the fire became a place you returned to, a center, a home, the first kitchen table. Wrangham believes this is where so much of being human was quietly born, in the sharing and the waiting together, the warm circle of light with food at the middle of it. Around that first cooking fire, we did not just become smarter, we became We. And here is the honest part. That cooked fish is only the oldest meal we can still see. Wrangham argues the habit is far older, that nearly 2 million years ago Homo erectus was already roasting starchy roots and tubers dug out of the earth, the plain daily bread of the ancient world. We may never find that first burnt root, because soft food almost never survives a million years in the ground. But its fingerprints are written all over you. Right as cooking spread, the fossils change. Jaws and teeth grow smaller, the gut pulls in, and the skull swells outward, generation after generation, to make room for the brain that cooking could finally afford to feed. So the next time you stand over a stove, half bored, waiting for the water to boil, understand what you are actually doing. You are performing the single most important trick your species ever learned. The reason you can read this sentence, the reason you have a mind that is even capable of being bored, is that a small, frightened ancestor once reached into the one thing all of life runs from, and pulled out dinner. You did not earn your brain. It was cooked for you over a million years of fires and handed down. Every meal you have ever eaten is the far end of that first fire by the lake, and it is still burning. In every kitchen, every stove, every warm and shared and waited for meal, we are the animal that cooks. And we have been clever, and together, and human, ever since the first one of us was brave enough to be hungry beside the flames.